The 7 deadly sins represent the worst attributes a single person could have. Internet personalities sometimes represent them so thoroughly that they almost seem like caricatures of the sins themselves. Gluttony represents the need to indulge in excessive eating. The representative of this sin is most definitely Amberlynn Reid. She posts primarily vlog-style videos, showing the audience her shopping hauls, her dinners, and sharing the latest news of her life. Even at first glance at her, it's clear which sin she heartedly embodies. Her following stems from people's need to make fun of those they deem as worse than them. No one supports her. They simply want to be there for her downfall. She has been part of numerous scandals, some far more serious than her love for food. It does become rather comedic when you watch her explain her eating habits to the audience. The way she lies about the amount and type of food she eats almost reminds us of a child who has not yet learned to lie convincingly. The question is whether she is lying to the audience or mostly to herself. She expects her audience to believe she eats the same amount of food a baby bird does. This would even be tolerable if she wasn't such an awful human being. She has had rape and assault allegations thrown her way. She's extremely entitled about all she has or thinks she does, and overall she treats the people around her with an incredible amount of disrespect. Next is a sin that needs no introduction. Greed is represented by a YouTube channel that we could never imagine would find itself in a video like this. We're talking about the famous ghost hunting, nail-biting, hilarious duo previously known as BuzzFeed Unsolved. Shane and Ryan were the main duo, the hosts of the channel's multiple series. They were entertaining to watch, down-to-earth guys that you could wind down with after a tough day.
That's like a foot taller than you.
I knew you were gonna say that. I'm 5'10", by the way, so.
Like all people from BuzzFeed, Shane and Ryan left the company to start their own called Watcher. Their fans were excited about this new change as this meant the two would have way more creative freedom than they had ever had before. All was good for some time until the faithful video popped up, with the two of them and Steven explaining that their future content would now be locked behind a paywall. This caused public outrage, which ultimately cost them everything they had crafted up until that point, showing the ultimate price of greed. While they did apologize, this did not do much to help people view them differently. They were so loved by their community, but this slip-up just showed that they weren't in it for the fans anymore but their money. Hopefully, others will learn from their mistake and will be satisfied with what they have, not thirsty for more. The first person who pops up in most people's heads when they think about the sin of sloth is sssniperwolf. Leah started out loved by the community as a brand new commentary channel. She quickly garnered attention for both her commentary and her good looks. This combination allowed her to have some leeway when it came to the amount of effort she put in her videos. As time went by, her videos were just recycled from the past, but her view count never went down. Leah enjoyed the fact that she could put in little to no effort in her videos but still bring in the same amount of money. Eventually, people would catch on to her tactics and call her out on her scam. She avoided commenting and just continued doing what she had been doing previously. After all the hype around her died down, her channel faded into oblivion. While it still brings a substantial amount of views, it's far from the level she had a few years ago. EDP445 story is an interesting one about how to catch a predator. That being said, he represents the sin of lust. EDP445 was a run-of-the-mill vlog-style YouTuber who, despite his low-quality videos, brought in views because of his personality and unfiltered humor. Because of his decisions and actions, his life went on from a comfortable one to one where he lived from a suitcase. After he was caught making advances towards an underage girl, the whole internet turned his back on him. He was banned on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and all similar platforms. He lost all of his sources of income because of his lust, and it sure seems like an appropriate punishment. While his story is tragic as he lost more than a decade's worth amount of work, it is hard to have any sympathy for the man. The next man we will talk about is despicable compared to the others in this video. One of the worst people on the internet is the man himself, Anision. He is such a terrible person that he represents all sins in some capacity, but in this video he represents the sin of pride.
I had this weird thing where I was staring in the mirror, raging narcissist, and I was like, feeling like I was seeing other dimensions.
He certainly has an interesting past, from grooming young individuals to harassing and humiliating those around him. There is no telling when he will stop. But worst of all is the fanbase that made him feel pride over all of what he was doing.
Check out my outfit of the day!
Incredibly, the man feels no shame over his actions, even after the fanbase turned their backs on him. Someone like Onision should not even have a platform to begin with, let alone such pride and security in the things he is doing. He is pure evil in human form, but many of his fans rejected the idea for so long, and after they had realized it, it had been too long for anything to be changed about it. Onision has lost most of his audience at this point, but there is no doubt that even though he is not present much online anymore, he isn't still ruining the lives of people around him, worst of all, his children. On a lighter note, we all know that, by far, the most easily irritable and angriest people on the planet are the gaming YouTubers. It takes little for them to display the sin of wrath. The person who most stands out in this display is Putz12, a Splatoon YouTuber whose acts of violence on his controller could be seen as a crime. This man is genuinely unhinged. It is incredible that a person could put that much significance into a game.
Caps, you are banned! You are banned! Disconnect, you disconnect!
He doesn't even get angry at himself, he gets angry at his teammates, who he believes are the ones who throw off his whole game, even though he is the one who clearly does not even understand how the game is even played. Watching his videos is a great educational moment, and it helps you learn what not to do. Those who are envious try to emulate or even become someone else. That is true for the YouTuber Whiteboyum, who has spent his entire career being a fake iShow Speed. From his speech to his mannerisms, he's got it all down. His obsession took on a new level, and he created an extremely cringeworthy diss track on Speed, even though he was constantly trying to be like him. Speed reacted to this song, and just by looking at his face, you can tell what he was thinking at that moment. That might be the first and only time we saw Speed physically cringe, which is about the only noteworthy thing about that entire diss track. If you become famous by acting like someone else entirely, are you actually famous, or is the person you're copying just gaining more followers as a result? One thing is certain, Whiteboyum will never be known as more than a cheap knockoff. Many of us look up to internet personalities despite the sometimes obvious issues with their personalities they may be showcasing. The issues come up when those who are young and impressionable take after these horrible people who are given large platforms. Their parents take no note of what their kids are watching, so we get a generation of kids raised by people like Onision. Then, when we realize there is no getting away from these self-centered, uncultured kids, we try to figure out where it all went wrong. The internet has brought many amazing things, but the drawbacks can be huge. One of those drawbacks is that it allows people like these to capture our attention.